You are not watching this video by chance. You are here because the time is ripe. Thoth did not pass down an instruction manual but a code that is activated only in those who are ready to create, not through voluntary effort but through frequency resonance. What you will understand does not belong to magic. It is spiritual science, vibration technology. It is the immanent power that you already possess and that is only waiting to be reactivated. If your life rotates in identical circles, if every change eludes you despite every correct action, the cause is only one. Your vibration is still fighting against the reality you say you want. Thoth taught this 3,000 years ago. The keepers of world power have erased that wisdom. Today, quantum physics rediscovers what he already knew. Everything is frequency, and what you emanate becomes reality. Listen with sacred intent. The universe does not care about thoughts or desires. It responds only to the essence of who you are. In this revelation, you will learn the art of aligning your energy with your chosen destiny, of clearing the auric field that chains you to the past, of accessing the vibrational state that transforms effortlessly. But the ultimate culmination, the final secret of Thoth, will reveal itself only when your frequency is identical to his, and that attunement is already pulsating within you. Freeze the moment. Before you proceed, perform an initiatory act. Press like now. Do not do it for me, but for yourself. That gesture is the first alchemical seal of the journey. It is your future declaring to the universe, I am ready. I will recognize it and know that of all the spectators, you are the one who has truly understood. Prove it. Now man is a flame lit from within, hidden until he seeks the light that created him. Thoth revealed what science is only now beginning to decipher. Long before quantum physics, before Einstein, even before the Greek philosophers. Thoth had already written what modern scientists are still struggling to understand. And it wasn't written on paper, it was engraved in stone. The emerald tablets are not just ancient texts. They are a condensed vibrational code, a kind of spiritual technology that speaks directly to your energy field, not your rational mind. Thoth didn't use the word aura, but he clearly described the existence of an invisible field that connects mind, body, and reality. A field that pulsates around the human being like a living network of energy and information. Today, science is starting to call it the human electromagnetic field. The ancients already called it the light body. Thoth knew that this field is the very structure of creation. It is not just a consequence of what you feel. It is the vibrational mold of your existence. It is what organizes the events of your life. And here is the detail that changes everything. This field does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you truly vibrate. It does not matter how many positive affirmations you say, if deep down, your vibration is based on fear, lack, insecurity, or guilt. The universe does not read your words, it reads your field. And that field is formed by everything you feel, think, believe, consume, do, and even repress. Thoth said, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is not poetry, this is an operational law of the universe. Reality is not something that happens to you, it is something you project. It responds to the vibrational pattern you are holding in this moment. And this is not a metaphor, it is literal. If your field is misaligned, your external reality will be confusing, repetitive, chaotic. If it is clean, centered, and coherent, doors open, things flow, opportunities appear in synchronicity. This is where the veil begins to tear, because the problem was never a lack of power. The problem is that your field is constantly talking to you, but you are still trying to listen with your mind. The rational mind is noisy, analytical, conditioned. It wants to understand everything with logic, to label it, to put it into formulas. But the energy field does not speak with words. It communicates with sensations, with subtle impulses, with expansions or contractions in the body, with emotions, with the breath. You feel a heaviness in your chest, a causeless fatigue, a restlessness that keeps you awake at night, and you assume it is anxiety, stress, too much commitment. What if it is something else? What if it is your own field trying to show you that there is an internal break between what you feel, what you think, and what you live? This field is a living system. It is not outside or inside. It is you, only in layers, 7 to be exact, and each one resonates with an energy center described for millennia in the initiatory traditions of Egypt, India, China, and native peoples. These centers, which today we call chakras, are not just mystical points. They are intelligences, true vibrational processes. Each one represents a level of your experience: the physical body, emotions, thoughts, connections, expression, intuition, and the connection with the whole. But when these centers are not aligned, the field becomes fragmented, and that is when confusion begins. You want to grow, but you carry guilt. You want to love, but you are afraid to open up. You want to manifest abundance, but you vibrate lack. Each chakra pulsates at a different frequency, like instruments in an out-of-tune orchestra. And while you try to fix life with external efforts, your field remains misaligned internally. It is like rowing against the current. You could do everything right on the outside: meditate, study, work, engage. But if inside your field is still trapped in old tensions, inherited beliefs, repressed emotions, life will seem like a series of repetitions. New beginnings that don't last, relationships that seem to reflect the same wounds, cycles that return, dressed in new appearances, but carrying the same pain, because the field doesn't respond to your will, it responds to your real state. And that state is shaped by everything you've accumulated without integrating: old traumas you've repressed, truths you've silently swallowed, promises you made to yourself when you were still a child just trying to survive. All this still vibrates in the depths of your field, fragments of pain that have now become patterns, unconscious voices that keep saying, "It's too much for you, it's not safe to shine, no one will understand you." And before you know it, you live a reality that reflects exactly that. Most people live like this, with their field at war, thinking one thing, feeling another, acting the opposite way. And that disharmony becomes such a constant noise that they start to think that chaos is normal. But the field does not lie. It does not accept pretenses. It reflects what is alive inside you. And when that vibration is misaligned, reality responds with noise, delays, repetitions, blocks that seem unjustifiable. And that is why even when you try to change things on the outside, even when you commit, search, study, make an effort, nothing really changes. Because the root of creation is elsewhere. And only when you start to align those internal layers does the field begin to reorganize. But first you have to find out what is distorting that frequency. Because every confused reality is just the reflection of a fragmented field. And the truth is that there are invisible interferences sabotaging your field right now. And you have to recognize them if you want to free yourself from the vibrational prison that almost everyone is trapped in without even knowing it. And most don't even realize they're prisoners, because this prison has no bars, no walls, no visible guards. It vibrates silently within your energy field, like an ancient echo that you no longer question. Thoth described it as the invisible prison, but it's not invisible because it's hidden. It's invisible because you've been trained not to see it. From a young age, you've been exposed to frequencies that weren't yours. Inherited fears, guilt masquerading as responsibility, beliefs imposed as absolute truths when in reality they were just emotional repetitions of a system that wanted you to remain predictable. Think about how many times you have said, "I want to change," and immediately felt your body tighten, your mind sabotage you, your energy disappear. It's because your vibration hasn't changed. It's still sending the same signal of lack, protection, survival. Your field is still stuck in a past that you don't even consciously remember, but that vibrates in every cell of your body. And the cruelest part is that you didn't build this prison. It was installed over generations. You learned to vibrate pain long before you were aware of it. You learned to shrink to be accepted, to stay silent to survive, to hide who you were to avoid rejection. This has created a pattern, and your field has registered it. Now, even if you speak beautiful sentences, even if you write affirmations, even if you try to convince yourself that you deserve more, the vibration that drives your reality is still caught in the same cycle. And life responds to that because life doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you put out. And what you put out is living memory. It is emotion unprocessed. It is belief unquestioned. It is tension unreleased. All of this pulsates in layers within your field. And as long as those layers are dirty, fragmented, contracted, your reality will remain limited, not by cruelty, but by resonance. This is the vibrational prison, the cycle that causes millions of people to say, "I want to change," while they continue to recreate the same kind of day, the same kind of relationship, the same kind of frustration, because their words say one thing, but their field says another. And there is no point in escaping the outside world if you have not cleared the inside. True liberation does not happen when the situation changes. It happens when you change your vibration in the face of the same situation. When what once triggered you now simply passes. When what once paralyzed you now dissolves. And the beginning of this liberation is simpler than it seems. It is not in complex techniques. It is in the most basic, most natural, and most forgotten act of all, breathing. Not breathing automatically as we do every day, but breathing with presence, with intention. Really breathing, because the air does not just enter the lungs, it enters the field, it expands the subtle layers. It creates space where there was tension, it dissolves noise, it rearranges frequency, but few people breathe consciously. Most breathe shallowly, hastily, mechanically, as if the body were a machine. But the body is a temple, and air is the messenger that brings awareness to parts of the field that have been forgotten. The moment you breathe in with presence, you begin to deprogram. You send a new signal to your nervous system, a signal that it is safe, that it can let go, that it can trust. And when that happens, the vibration begins to change, and with it, everything around you begins to respond differently. But that is only the first step, because breathing is what cleanses, but feeling is what transforms. And in that moment of presence, when the air comes in with awareness and comes out carrying away tensions you didn't even know you had, something subtle and powerful happens. The field begins to soften. The vibration that was stuck in the dark corners of your history begins to move. Breathing, this simple act, becomes sacred. Thoth said that breathing is the bridge between worlds, and he wasn't talking about geographical or celestial worlds. He was talking about states of consciousness, about moving from unconscious to awakened, from automatic to creator, from vibrational prison to a state of alignment with all. In ancient traditions, breath has always been treated as spiritual technology, a tool for recalibrating the soul. Today, science is starting to call it pranayama, but Thoth knew this language long before it was documented. Breathing with intention, for him, was a way to access higher frequencies, because every breath taken with presence interrupts an unconscious pattern. It breaks the cycle. It silences the noise of the mind and awakens the wisdom of the body. When you take a deep breath with intention, something very real happens. Your nervous system begins to slow down. Your mind relaxes, and the energy that was compressed inside your field begins to free itself. Have you ever noticed how a deep sigh can change the direction of a thought? How a conscious breath can pull you out of chaos and bring you back to center? It is not a coincidence. It is vibrational access. But this energy that begins to move needs direction. And this is where the real vibrational creation begins to happen. You are not made of thoughts. You are made of frequency. And as that once blocked energy begins to move freely within you, something changes. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You begin to realize that what has always defined you was not your thoughts or your desires. It was your frequency. This is the point that confuses most people, because many believe that positive thinking is enough, that repeating mantras, visualizing, or writing affirmations will bring about change. But this is not the case, because thinking without frequency is just noise, mental chatter, superficiality, floating words without roots. And the universe doesn't respond to noise, it responds to the field you are maintaining. Imagine this: two people say the same sentence, I am prosperous, but one says it with fear, in a hurry, without even believing it. The other says it feeling it in the body, breathing deeply, with genuine gratitude for something that is already living inside. The sentence is the same, but the field is completely different. Result: the universe responds to the second, not the sentence, but the actual vibration behind it. Thoth said that sound becomes creation only when it is supported by a coherent vibration. It is like playing a note on an out-of-tune instrument. The intention may be good, but the sound does not resonate. And that is what happens to most people. They say what they want, but vibrate the opposite. They want love, but they vibrate rejection. They want freedom, but they vibrate fear. They want change, but they are still sending the signal of stagnation. And the field, which is extremely precise, only returns what you emit with consistency. It doesn't matter what you say out loud. What matters is what you vibrate silently when no one is watching. What matters is what your body feels, what your heart holds, what your breath reveals, because your vibrational field is too honest to lie. And this is not a mystical thing. It is physical. It is energetic. It is real. Repressed emotions, for example, are like charges stuck in your field. When you ignore anger, fear, guilt, they don't go away. They accumulate. They create weight, dense frequency, and that density blocks your natural flow of creation. You could do everything right on the outside: study, work, engage. But if you are still holding unprocessed pain internally, your field remains blocked and you remain trapped in the same cycle. Want a clear example? Think of someone who says, I am fine, but their eyes are empty, their breathing shallow, their body tense. You feel that they are not fine even though they say it. Why? Because their field is telling the truth. Energy does not lie. Now think of someone who walks into a room and changes the atmosphere just by being there, who radiates peace, security, clarity, even without saying much. That is a clear, aligned, coherent vibrational field, and anyone can access it, but not through effort, but through practice, awareness, and coherence. The question is, what frequency have you been holding without realizing it? Because even if you want change, abundance, connection, if your vibration is still stuck in pain, lack, or anxiety, the field will not move. Not because you don't deserve it, but because the universe needs coherence. And coherence cannot be falsified, it must be lived. And this is where the real spiritual work begins. Aligning mind, emotion, and body into one vibration, lived, felt, breathed. Because when this happens, reality has no choice. It begins to reorganize itself. Have you ever wondered why, even though you know what you have to do, you can't do it? Why do you feel that heavy feeling in your chest when it's time to make a decision? Why, even after repeating positive affirmations, do you still feel something inside you saying, it's not true? This is where the real emotional alchemy begins. Thoth, unlike many later teachers, never taught control as the solution. He taught transmutation. He knew that emotion is not weakness. Emotion is vibrational code. It is energetic raw material. It is the fuel that shapes your field for creation or repetition. You don't transform your field by saying you're fine when inside you're falling apart. You don't fool the vibration with sweet words while you feel anger, sadness, or guilt embedded in your body. Energy doesn't respond to your mask. It responds to your coherence. And here's the thing. Most people have never learned to feel fully. They've been taught to suppress, to rationalize, to hide, to hold back tears, to feign forgiveness, to ignore fear, to keep going even when their bodies scream, enough. But the field doesn't forget. Every emotion you suppress becomes stagnant energy, like stagnant water inside you. And if that water isn't released, it begins to contaminate your vibration. It doesn't matter how high you try to vibrate, if you still carry guilt on your shoulders, fear in your stomach, shame in your throat. That's why you can do everything right and still not manifest. Because what creates your reality isn't just what you think, it's what you feel and what you don't fully feel. Transmutation begins when you feel with presence, when you choose to stay with the emotion without identifying with it, without running away, without playing the victim, just staying, breathing, listening to what it is trying to tell you, because every emotion is a messenger. A real example: think of someone who explodes with anger over anything. Deep down, that anger is their field's way of protecting an old pain, perhaps a sense of helplessness from childhood. Every time that person is challenged, their emotional field activates that memory, and because it was never fully felt, it repeats. Anger becomes a cycle. But when that person first allows themselves to sit with that anger, without acting, without fighting, without running away, something dissolves. Anger reveals what is underneath, and the energy begins to move. It doesn't take years of analysis, it takes a real space of presence. Thoth said, "True power doesn't come from putting out fires, it comes from letting them burn clean." Anger, when felt with awareness, transforms into presence and assertiveness. Sadness, when welcomed, becomes depth and truth. Fear, when accepted, reveals where your power lies. Emotion is a bridge. Emotion is raw vibration that asks to be updated. You don't have to heal, you have to clear what's stuck, clear the emotional waves that never reached shore, clear what you couldn't feel because at the time you didn't have the maturity to contain it. Now you have it. And when that field begins to clear, the frequency changes. And when the frequency changes, the world responds differently. Not because you have done something on the outside, but because something inside has finally been released. This is the key that many ignore. True alignment begins when the field stops carrying what is no longer yours. And that is when divine power begins to arise. Creating is not wishing, it is vibrating what you already are. This is the point of the journey where many go wrong. They believe they only have to change their thoughts to change reality. But Thoth was clear. He never separated mind, energy, and body. For him, everything was one vibrational organism. According to the ancient Hermetic texts, the body is not just flesh and bones. It is a sensitive instrument of vibrational transmission and reception, a spiritual radar, a living oracle. The most direct way to calibrate your frequency is not through your mind. It is through how you inhabit your body. When you walk hunched over, breathing shallowly, with your shoulders tense and your jaw clenched, what are you telling the universe? Your field interprets, "I am in defense mode, in deficit, on high alert." Even if your mouth says, "I am abundant," your body is emitting, "I do not feel safe." And the field does not respond to what you say. It responds to who you are. Have you ever noticed how certain people walk into a room and even in silence seem to command attention? It's not about appearance, it's about embodied vibrational presence. They inhabit their body with awareness. Every step is complete. Every gesture has intention. Their field is clear because their body is aligned with what they hold inside. On the contrary, when you live disconnected from your body, your energy fragments. You may have great ideas, good intentions, but the vibration doesn't connect. The field becomes unstable. Reality is confused. This is why practices like yoga, intuitive dance, martial arts, mindful walking, deep breathing are so powerful. It's not the movement itself, it's reconnecting the body as a channel of vibrational coherence. You begin to move as someone who is whole, as someone who boldly inhabits their frequency. And when that happens, the universe responds with synchronicity. Even small actions become powerful. The way you sit, the way you hold eye contact, the way you breathe when you speak. Everything communicates, everything vibrates. Thoth said, "The body is the interface between the worlds. If it is out of alignment, your field becomes noisy. But when the body becomes aware, the field stabilizes and reality begins to respond effortlessly. That's when creation stops being an attempt and becomes natural." Most people still believe that creating reality is about making requests, visualizing goals, imagining success. But Thoth taught something far more radical. There is no separation between what you want and what you vibrate. All you attract is what you are already holding. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you vibrationally are. This is why reality often seems to ignore your requests. Because what the field registers is not what you think you want, it is what you vibrate while you think it. If deep down you still feel lack, fear, comparison, or doubt, even if you repeat, "I am prosperous," the true vibration is still scarcity. Thoth taught that the word creates, but only when it is aligned with the body and emotion. Loose words are not magic, but words that are lived, held, and charged with energetic coherence are decrees. They are vibrational commands. But there is a secret that few people talk about. Keeping that vibration alive requires stability, clarity, and above all, coherence in the field. And this is exactly where the next step is revealed. How to keep that vibration alive without getting lost in the noise of the mind, society, and the old self. How to become the stable architect of your vibrational reality. Now that the vibration has already been activated, you are ready to discover how to sustain the new field without noise and with precision. Reality has already begun to obey you silently, and perhaps, without even realizing it, you are already vibrating differently. Your gaze changes, your body transforms, small decisions become more conscious. But this is where many people stop, because the vibration has started, but it has not been sustained. And this is exactly what separates those who awaken from those who transform. Most are still looking for more information, more techniques, more answers. But Thoth did not speak of accumulation. He spoke of practice, of embodiment, of living. He did not leave tablets to be read with the eyes. He left frequencies to be activated in the body, in speech, in gestures, in silence. That is why the real work begins now. The practice of the architect, of one who not only understands vibrational creation, but supports that creation every day in every detail of life. And this does not require a complex esoteric ritual. It requires presence, coherence, intention. It all begins with the most basic element, air. Breath is the key that opens the field, and you don't need much. Just a few minutes a day of conscious breathing, as Thoth taught through the sacred breath. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a moment, exhale for a count of 6. And as you exhale, imagine your old frequency dissolving like vibrational dust. Do this when you wake up, before you sleep, before you make a decision. Slowly, the mind slows down. The field begins to listen. Then comes the visualization. But here's the secret. There's no point in seeing with your mind if you don't feel with your body. There's no point in imagining success if your breathing is still short, tense, anxious. What manifests is not the image. It's the emotion the image evokes. So visualize with your skin, with your heart, with your muscles. Imagine what you want and notice how your body responds. If your body doesn't believe, your field won't perform. So repeat it until your body and image vibrate together. Affirmations, yes, but not as random phrases thrown into the wind. They must come with soul. Don't say, "I am abundant," if your chest is closed and your body is hunched. Open your shoulders. Plant your feet. Breathe boldly. Then say it, feel it, declare it. Because the vibration is in the gesture that accompanies the word. And when the noise gets too loud, go into silence. Stop everything. Turn off the screens. Breathe. Listen to your field. That silence is where the frequency organizes. It's where doubt falls away, emotions align, and your inner command gains clarity. The art of the inner architect demands this daily space, even if it is only for 5 minutes. And finally, the body must move, not as a performance, but as a ritual act of resonance. Walk with sacred presence. Dance as if you were purifying your energy field. Practice yoga as if tuning your being to a divine instrument. Shake if necessary. Let the energy flow and circulate, clearing every channel. The external form is irrelevant. What matters is that the body feels fully inhabited, alive, as it engages a new frequency. When these gestures become discipline, creation ceases to be an effort and becomes a spontaneous act. You will no longer live to please the world, but to tune the world to your vibration. Thoth did not sculpt symbols to conceal, but to encode frequencies. And now that you have remembered it, even if your rational mind hesitates, your subtle field already recognizes. Because vibration does not wait for explanations. It obeys only the authentic presence. If you have come this far, it is not by chance. It is because a part of you already knew that it was time to honor what you have always been. Now choose. A like, if you have felt the rekindling of an inner flame. A comment, Thoth guides me, if you have recognized the truth that lay within you. A membership, because those who seek the light do not stop at the first threshold. This is not a farewell, but a pact between awakened ones. To you, seeker, may every breath you take from now on be written in your emerald book. See you soon, beyond the veil.